Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate your time.
I appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, if you don't mind me asking, where are you training out of, or where are you located?
So I'm in Florida. I'm in like central Florida, kind of on the East Coast, the
Okay, yeah,
Melbourne area.
got it. My wife is from the Tampa, Brandon area, so I'm pretty
Okay.
familiar with Florida. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we go. How do you like it over there?
Oh, I love Florida. I grew up in Tennessee. I moved here about 12 years ago. So it's the best. I mean, and then bodybuilding in Florida is huge. So it's a great place to be a bodybuilder.
That is so funny. I'm actually in Tennessee. I'm in Nashville. So
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, we're actually planning on trying to move to Florida at some point here in the next few years. But yeah, like I love the climate, the bodybuilding scene, or like the fitness scene is so much better. What do you attribute that to? Just the fact that it's so warm all year round, kind of like California.
I'm not sure. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just the culture and like how they've grown the NPC like shows down here.
Mhm.
But it's a great place. There's shows almost every weekend and
Yeah.
lots of really cool gyms to train at as well. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I mean, when they suspended the Olympia that one time from Las Vegas, they moved it to Orlando. So that was
yeah.
that made like the most sense, which some people are even a little, I mean, Las Vegas obviously has its own like benefits, but a lot of people liked it in Orlando. Like a lot of people wish they would have kept it in Orlando. So
It was convenient for me for sure. I went last year. It was amazing. But I've actually never been when it's in Vegas, so I'm looking forward to experiencing kind of that typical Olympia
yeah.
setup as well. But being in Florida during the pandemic, it was a nice place to be. So things were still open and we were still able to do most things. So
Yeah. So it didn't affect your training much, huh, during those years?
my gym closed for about 6 weeks.
Mhm.
So it wasn't in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't much. I got bands, I had some dumbbells, things like that.
Mhm.
But we were back in the gym pretty quickly. So
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, what got you interested in like bodybuilding and training? In the first place.
yeah. So it kind of started as like a bucket list. I never anticipated that I would kind of fall in love with it as I did. When I turned 30, previously I was married and divorced, and it was kind of like a rough few years for me. And I met a new guy, and things were great. And I was just kind of on this journey of self-discovery.
Mhm.
And when I turned 30, I kind of was like, I wanted to push myself and do something outside of my comfort zone. And I had seen a friend of mine from high school that had done a bikini competition, and it intrigued me and scared me all in the same time. And I thought, okay, maybe I can do it. And I pushed it off. And before my 31st birthday, I realized, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to get serious about it. And so that's when I signed up for my first show. I started working with a trainer, and that's what kind of got me started. I just wanted to make it to the stage. But then as I started the training and, did my first show, I wanted to be validated. I wanted to really be proud of the physique that I brought. And of course, that takes time. So
Mhm.
then, a few years of really kind of building season. So
So were you like training already, and then you decided, okay, well, you got to the point where you wanted to step on stage, or did the thought of like stepping on stage and training kind of come simultaneously?
I mean, I can relate with a lot of women who go to the gym but are not into bodybuilding. So I thought I thought I was training. I wasn't training. I wasn't ready, and I should not have been on stage the first time I was, because I didn't have enough muscle. And ironically enough, when I started bodybuilding, I was actually a vegetarian. I went vegan for like 6 years, and then
Oh,
slowly,
wow.
yeah, then I moved back to vegetarian, and I tried to do that with bodybuilding, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I added fish, but I mean, I was going to the gym as a vegetarian vegan,
Mhm.
lifting weights, but I didn't have a lot of foundation there
Yeah.
until I really got serious with it.
I always thought like I'm not, I eat meat, but I always thought it would be so interesting to try to bodybuild and put on muscle like on a vegetarian diet, because there are some people that kind of claim that that's, whether they actually are or not, I don't know, but they claim it. So they claim like they're vegan or vegetarian and they bodybuild. So, and they don't look too bad. So I'm kind of like, well, is it like what's going on there? Is it just that person is specifically just okay with being on that diet and still making gains? Because I don't think most people would like, most people would probably have the same effect that you did, which is like not, it becomes difficult without eating some sort of meat.
Yeah, I mean, I teach their own. There are people that make it work.
Mhm.
I found I found that I was having to eat a lot more protein powders than I wanted to,
Mhm.
which didn't sit well with me, like digestively. But for years, my first few years, I was just like, I guess what you would consider like a pescatarian, where it was mostly fish
Mhm.
and eggs and some dairy. And that's easy. I mean, just recently I've kind of expanded and I've added all the meats. But yeah, but kind of pescatarian is very easy.
Yeah.
People make it work. I
Mhm.
think you definitely need to be really on the supplements and vitamins and make sure you're getting everything.
Mhm.
Um, but
Well,
yeah, it wasn't for me, and my digestion was not.
yeah, yeah. I understand. I understand what you mean, because sometimes I'll think about, oh, I need a little more protein today, so I'll go to the powders, and like the powder that I use is isolate. So it's like it's a high quality protein powder, but even that, even like the best, around, it still kind of like makes you feel a little weird in the digestive. And I don't know if it's just a matter of like there's certain processes that happen when you're chewing as opposed to like when you're just gulping down, like
Sure.
yeah. So there's probably something to that. I think powders definitely come in handy, but if all you're doing is sticking to just drinking protein shakes like for your protein source, that's going to become very difficult for you. So sounds like that's probably what you ran into.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many egg whites, and like, I tried pea protein crumbles, and it lasted all of about a month and a half now, so I added more things.
So when did you turn pro? Because obviously you've reached, an elite level of your physique and competition. To become a pro, it's not an easy thing to accomplish. So like the progression to becoming a pro, how did that happen?
So it took me about 2 years. I turned pro at nationals in 2020.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah, it was about 2 years of kind of I have like a kind of an addictive personality. When I really get into something, I really get into it. So those 2 years, I put forth like serious effort,
Mhm.
and I obviously was able to kind of make some gains. And so yeah, 2020.
So right in kind of in the midst of the pandemic. So
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a different story, but the pandemic and the shutdown actually was kind of a really like good experience for me as far as bodybuilding, because I'm in sales, and previously before the pandemic I was out and all of a sudden I went to working from home. And so my flexibility in my schedule was much more conducive. And I had a lot more time that I was able to really invest into my training and diet. And that's kind of what I did. And I really was that was in my improvement time. And so I spent that entire kind of that first year really focusing on that. And so it worked out for me in that sense.
Yeah. Well, so you improved quite a lot, obviously, in 2 years. What would you say, like, the major improvements came, like, in what form, or like what body part did you
Well, honestly, like I needed muscle everywhere. So I mean, with bikini, obviously it's going to be a lot of shoulders and glutes, but I mean, I just didn't have the foundation. And so I built head to toe. But yeah, back, lats, glutes were the biggest areas of focus.
So just size, you just needed more size.
Yes.
Which is interesting, right? Because like when you think of bikini, you don't like think of somebody like being concerned with putting on size. But I guess you're not the first person to say that. Sometimes, depending on how small you are genetically, you might have to actually work to put on that size. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't have a good foundation when I started, so I needed to build everywhere. And so it's only now that, I'm a pro that I'm getting a little bit more selective, and I'm more shaping as far as putting on, mass.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think? And I don't know how much you keep up with the rest of your division. I've talked to some people, they keep up with their division extremely. Some people don't care at all. So, but what do you think about the state of bikini right now, like in your viewpoint?
I mean, I love it. I love the way that they're going. It's a hard look to achieve. But it's extremely lean, but extremely full muscle bellies. I mean, it's a beautiful look. So
do you think they're getting like too big, or do you think this is like the right?
No, I mean, honestly, I appreciate the muscle, so I love it. I mean, it's all with bikini, it's a lot of balance. You can get away with a lot if you are balanced. It's when you start to get a little imbalance in certain areas that it kind of hurts you.
Yeah. I'm assuming that because you had to put in a lot of work to gain muscle kind of all around. You never considered any other divisions like figure or anything like that?
No, no, I honestly, I feel kind of big in my off season as is. And so I appreciate it, but that wouldn't be me. And I would have to really work at that to be able to put on that additional size. My legs are not built for that. I probably, if anything, I would maybe more figure, because I have a wider lat spread than most. But that's, yeah, I can always appreciate from the sidelines.
So just recently there was some news that was put out that in the Arnold, the next Arnold, I believe 2023, they pulled figure from the Arnold. I don't know if you've heard, and like, what do you think about that, just overall?
I mean, I hate that for them because it takes away their opportunity. I mean, I understand it's not as popular of a division, but I think the Arnold is kind of one of our elite stages. And I wish they would allow everyone to be able to compete, even if it's a different day, which they do,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking it's like if you're going to have, like you said, the Arnold and the Olympia are the two biggest shows that represent bodybuilding. I feel like you should have all the divisions that are in the IFBB, like on those, on that
Yeah.
stage. Now, maybe you want to, cut the amount of people there because it is an invitation, show. That's fine, whatever you want to do. But I feel like if you're going to represent bodybuilding, you kind of have to represent like all the divisions that are like legitimate divisions in the sport, yeah, that's tough. One of the girls that I was talking to said that what figure is not good at, that wellness is great at, is that their top elite athletes put in a lot of work to help the newer amateur girls come up. So like they'll do a lot of seminars, particularly they were talking about Urishna and how like she does a lot of seminars, goes out to talk to people, like really interactive with her, with people coming up in her division. What do you think about bikini? Do you think it's, um, does bikini kind of help its own division like that, or is
Oh
everybody kind of
yeah.
for themselves? Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, I go to our local seminars and I help out as well. The bikini show up, is always probably one of the larger classes, like
Mhm.
of those seminars. It's and there's, I mean, we are one of the more popular divisions, and so I think there's a lot. There's a lot of
Mhm.
people that are putting out a lot of good content that is helpful, and there are a lot of opportunities for seminars and in other places. So
Sure. So what's next? I mean, for you, like as far as the sport's concerned, you got some shows you're thinking about?
I'm building. I needed some time off stage. I need to be able to make improvements. I'm adding some size and depth to both my glutes and shoulders. I probably won't be on stage again until next summer,
Mhm.
something like that.
Do you have like anything in mind or no? You just kind of thinking next summer,
Well,
whatever
yeah,
comes up?
I mean, I don't think they release the schedule till the end of
Mhm.
the year, but the nice thing is, you can, when the schedule comes out, you can kind of look and like find a block of shows that are in a line
Mhm.
and kind of hit them, one after another. So I think that's what we'll do. So
What's the ideal amount of shows that you could do, like and peak at? You said back to back, you do a few.
it's hard to say, and I think, it really depends. The more muscle you have, I think the easier it is to keep going. My first season, I did 4 shows, and I was pretty good. But and as long as you have time to properly reverse, and like if you're fully reversed and you're still lean and you're able to keep going, then I think you can do a stretch. I mean, you see some of these girls that are doing 10 plus shows. I think it's achievable as long as your calories are high enough and also you have enough muscle. Um, versus if you're smaller and you're not full enough, and you're having to keep that leanness, you're going to eventually sacrifice some size. So
Mhm. I was gonna ask you what do you think comes becomes a sacrifice over doing so many shows? You said size. A lot of times size is the
yeah,
issue.
I mean, so sometimes people end up just looking tired. You can't hold the conditioning, or yeah, you end up trying to hold to keep the condition, and you end up losing some
Yeah.
size and pop.
Yeah, I mean, hear about like somebody like Ashley Caldwell, who's known for doing like
Mhm.
a lot of shows, and she always like places very, very well, at her shows. So,
Well, I mean, she's got the muscle, she's got the density, and I think and she also stays very lean in the off season. So if if you have enough density and you have built your body to maintain that leanness very well, I think it's not that hard at our level, to stay pretty close. you're definitely going to have to pull back and add, a couple pounds. Say if you were going to do a spring and then wait a couple, months or so between shows, but it's achievable. But sometimes, your body gets tired. Like I this last season, I did October, November, December shows last year. And I took about 2 months off before I started prep again. And I don't think it was a long enough time. I needed a little bit more time. So I did some, March, April shows this year. And it was apparent that I needed to grow and I want to do well. We work so hard for that. So I want to really deliver on the judges' feedback, and so that the next time I'm on stage, really tell. So
yeah, you brought up a good point about like staying leaner in the off season. It's is that a problem in the bikini division overall? Because like I know for men, it really is. Like a lot of guys just blow up during the off season, and they have to cut so much just to even get into striking distance. Is that something that like even generally is an issue in bikini, or not so much?
I think it's normal to have a bad reverse and then learn from it. And then hopefully you learn from it and you're working with a coach that really knows your body and you're able to not make that mistake again. Everybody's different and their set point's different. So how much they need to gain is different. And then if you really need to put on size, it's a little bit, you're going to have to be in more of a surplus. And I think that's what you encounter with some of the men's divisions. You're really still pushing size. Whereas depending on what level you are at, we don't need as much size. So we're not going to have to be quite as aggressive. But that being said, it also, I think, is important, is based upon how restrictive you are. And then if you have the ability to reverse or not. I think if you can reverse before, like going into a show or between shows, you set yourself up for a much better place, when you're ready to go into an off season. Because if your food's low as you're ending, that's when, and especially if you've been on like a very restrictive meal plan, that's where you can kind of get in trouble. But I think all of us have had those moments where, okay, I didn't need to eat this or I overdid it, but hopefully you learn from it and you're able to do better next time.
So what's a typical well, first, before I ask that, how restrictive do you get when you diet down?
So I do follow macros. So I'm not probably as restrictive, but I like to stay with the foods. I basically create myself a meal plan. I end up eating the same breakfast and about the same lunch every day because I like it and it's easy. And then I will make a different dinner is kind of, but it's the same foods. It's like I'll switch between certain fish, items, or I'll go between rice or sweet potatoes and a vegetable. So I may have green beans one day and, broccoli another. So it's flexible, but
Do you count calories?
Yes. It's I follow basically the macro split that my coach gives me.
And what does a reverse look like for you? Like, do you just jump into like a high calorie or like normal calorie diet for you off season one, or do you like progressively go up?
It depends if we're reversing between shows or like after the show. Like if I have no future shows in ahead and I'm currently at an extreme deficit, she'll bring me back up to what would be like your new lower maintenance. So that might be a 100-calorie bump initially, and then we hold there until my body kind of acclimates to it, and then we slowly work up. So I'm not going into a surplus immediately, but I'm moving to a maintenance immediately.
Got it. Is it difficult for you to stay on like a restricted diet plan?
Um, I'm generally pretty good on reverses. And I'm also, it's been easier for me than others, I think.
Mm.
So.
Do you, as a just like you don't typically because you look like, just from looking at you, you look like you're genetically like a pretty lean person. Have you like not really are you not interested in food as much? I don't know how to ask that question.
Um,
Because there's a like a guy that I knew, and it was such a weird thing because I've never met anybody like this, but he was the first person that I ever met like this. And he said, I'm just not interested in food. Like food doesn't, like I don't, like I get tired of eating. Like it was so wild. It was so wild to me, so for you, is that kind of how you?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I like food like the rest of us, but the one thing that I found is I don't eat out as often as other people, and I definitely don't when I'm trying to reverse. I stick to my foods that I'm used to, and I just increase those quantities. I think it's important to go out and have a post-show meal and have it that night,
Mhm.
and kind of relax. But I'm I'm I don't I'm not one of those. I'm bringing treats backstage or cookies and donuts.
Oh, okay.
I don't do that. So I think that's where you can definitely get in trouble really quickly. I have found in the years, like, I mean, when you're post show, it's normal for all your friends and family who haven't had the time with you to want to say, like, let's go out, let's do this, let's celebrate.
Mhm.
When I do that, that's when I gain weight. And it's not necessarily a bad thing if you're just kind of aware of it and you're monitoring it. But yes, if I go out, the more I go out to eat, the faster I'm going to gain weight.
Yeah. It's just such a easy way to just rack up calories, right?
Mhm.
Because it's like at home you can, you know what you're eating, and you know what you're putting into your body, you know how you're cooking. A lot of times you're cooking with like, only a few additives. You go to a restaurant, I mean, like a burger you make at home and a burger you eat at a restaurant, like the difference in calories can be like 600-700 calories, so it's a huge difference. So that definitely makes, I could see how you could gain weight from doing that.
Yeah.
So have you ever thought yourself about like training or coaching? Do you do any of that?
I've considered it, but no, I don't think as of now it's not on my radar. So my work alone keeps me pretty busy, and I enjoy it a lot. So I want to be involved in the sport. And so I've reached out and I've volunteered for different things. And then I have so many friends in the sport. So when I'm not competing, I get to kind of live vicariously through them. And so yeah,
Yeah,
no.
it's a close knit sport for sure, like because it's such a niche sport. Even though it seems like there's a lot of people out there like involved in fitness, like when you look at social media and such, if you really take it into account, I mean, how many people work out in the world? Like
Mhm.
1%, 2%. How many of those people work out seriously? Less. How many of those people actually compete? I mean, this is like minute amount of people, so it's really like a close knit community when you really think about it. So
It is. It is. I always laugh. I heard this somebody say once. We work so hard to become an IFBB pro, and it like means so much to us. But you ask the normal person what an IFBB pro is, and they have no idea. Like they
yeah.
asked somebody, and they said, "What a blender." And it's like we give our heart and soul for it, and I mean nobody knows what it is. So
Yeah,
we're a minority for sure.
right. Well, I feel kind of the same way because, like the Olympia will come up, the Arnold will come up. I'll be talking about, these top level athletes, talk about Ramy, talk about this, talk about that. They're so popular in our sport. And like my friends that aren't involved in like any kind of bodybuilding or fitness, they're like, who, what? It's like that, and to us, it's like, like Ramy's huge, right? Like extremely popular. You have Brandon Curry, extremely popular, but to the average person, it's like they've never heard of them. Like they don't even know who these people are. So,
Yeah.
it's yeah, I completely understand your sentiment. Like I feel like sometimes I'm just talking just to myself. But well, hey, Marianne, just to kind of round off our conversation, if somebody wanted to reach out to you in regard to like either your assistance, I know you don't do much coaching, but or like wanted to get you on another podcast, what would be like the best way to do that?
So I need to be better about my social media, but I am on Instagram. It's Marianne_IFBB Pro.
All right, awesome. And guys, I'm going to link all of Marianne's info down at the bottom of the video, so you can just click on it and easily, be directed to those forms of connection. So, well, Marianne, thank you so much. I really
Oh,
appreciate your
thank you.
time.
I appreciate it.
Take care. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.